Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here at episode 40, on the road again, tailgating in Ann Arbor, and a little bit about some American football culture for all of our listeners all over the world. This may not be some exciting news for our American listeners, but I'm sure they'll be able to relate to what we are going to be discussing today. I have to admit, tailgating is one thing that I have definitely been missing while I have been here in the Czech Republic. So we'll be discussing that today, and with my tailgating expert, I introduce to you my amazing co-host, my buddy Jared.
Hello. Welcome. Hail to the victors. Ugh.
Oh, God.
I don't dislike Michigan, but I don't even really, that just felt gross saying that. I don't consider myself a tailgating expert. This is my probably first time ever tailgating. And I'd say, it was interesting, though. We'll get to that later, though. First of all, if you want to follow along again with our On the Road Again tailgating in Ann Arbor, ooh, that's kind of a tongue twister, shenanigans, follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Or email us and tell us your On the Road Again stories from your favorite travel locations. I love Ann Arbor. And you know what I think it took? Me leaving and coming back as a visitor to realize this place is great. It's so like
it really is.
And I think I just took it for granted. But now that I'm back, I'm like, oh man, this place is nice. And I walked around this morning for a couple hours, and it was also kind of like a reminiscing kind of thing because
sure,
it reminded me of all. It was like, oh, I remember that place. I was like, oh, I remember going there.
A little bit of nostalgia for you, buddy.
Yeah. I didn't even go to all the places I want to go to because I had to come back and talk to you.
Right? Yeah. Sorry, I'm ruining your party. Your party in Ann Arbor. I agree with you though. I mean, Ann Arbor is a beautiful city. I grew up in Dexter, Michigan, which is right down the road, more or less.
Mm-hmm. Do you tell people from abroad that you're from Ann Arbor?
What I usually tell people, is if they even know where Michigan is or what it is.
Right. Ann Arbor is not that well known.
Right. I tell them I'm about a 40-minute drive away from Detroit. That's usually how I put it.
Yeah, Detroit's more well known than Ann Arbor. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Most Czechs here know a little bit about Detroit. I have a lot of students who are gamers, and so they're really a huge fan of Detroit Becomes Human. Computer game, I believe.
I've heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
what have you been doing in Ann Arbor, buddy?
Well, I got here on Friday. I drove, which is so nice because it always seems to fly by. It's about anywhere between 8 and 9 hours. And I always tend to take way more stops when I'm driving by myself than when I'm with people, because I never want to be the person to ask to pull over to pee. So, but then when I'm by myself, when I'm by myself, I think I'm just constantly kind of doing stuff with my hands, so I'm constantly like sipping on something. But it's very peaceful. I enjoy it very much, and I'm always kind of like paranoid about putting miles on my car. But why? You know, it's not like it's old, and it's so and I never really drive that much anyway. So it's very nice to. It's very relaxing. You know, I listen to some music, some podcast, and it's nice. So I like that part. And it's
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Were you listening to the Untranslatable Podcast on loop your whole drive?
I was. And and then at one point I was driving over this beautiful scenic bridge, and I just yanked the wheel and drove off of it. But no, it is very peaceful. I enjoy it. And although, like always, especially when you're driving on the turnpikes and when you're driving through Ohio and Pennsylvania too, to be fair, the police are every a couple miles, so you got to be on alert. But
did you have that radar on you?
I did.
In your car?
I did. And at first, it's kind of old, and I was like, I don't need this thing. Like, this thing doesn't even work anymore. And literally within like an hour of driving, like I saw like a Waze thing coming up, and it started beeping as I saw. I was like, oh. Okay, I guess good thing I put this up. It is working within like an hour of this drive. But yeah, so that was cool. And I'm trying to think, what else did I do? I mean, do you want me to just run through the entire trip right now?
Well, I'd like to ask you another question just about your drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it was what, 9-10 hours you said?
8 to 9.
Okay.
Probably a little more over 9 because I stopped a little more than necessary.
Okay. So, well, first of all, I guess my question is, did you bring food and snacks with you, or did you stop and eat at like fast food joints?
Chad, I'm glad you asked that question. I literally made a note of that to bring that up. But yeah, what I did was at about so I left my place at about 8 something, and at about 10:30 I stopped at Chick-fil-A, and I kind of went out of the way only because I hate.
Ooh, all right.
And I could have gone a little farther and got something along the road, but the Pennsylvania Turnpike specifically has terrible options. It's like Burger King, Roy Rogers, the occasional Panera, because it's like Turnpike stuff. So every spot has the same stop. They're like on Turnpikes, all the stops, which they're usually nicer, to be fair, rather than when you're on like a non-Turnpike freeway. However, some of them have good stops, and you get lucky. It's like, ooh, I'm on this Turnpike. That means I'm going to get this. But the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and Ohio for that matter, is not one of them. And so I knew the food was going to be crappy. So I got Chick-fil-A early, and I kind of got more than I usually would, and I kind of filled up on that. I was like, all right, this will be my main meal, and I'll snack. And I'll tell you the snack that sustained me. It's actually right here. I was snacking on it before we started podcasting.
Nice.
Are the iced animal crackers, these ones?
Oh, nice. I haven't had those in forever.
Dude, me neither. But I've been on a search for a great road trip snack, and this came to me. I was Googling it at work the other day. Road trip snacks. And those came up, and I was like, oh, I have totally forgot about those. And they're great. They're great. I also brought chips, prepared. But I haven't even opened them. I was like, fuck those chips. I got iced. And maybe I should take a picture of those, because I'm sure most people, Americans probably know what it is, but most people outside of America don't know what those are.
You should definitely take a picture
those
of those.
Those are kind of old school.
Oh, they are. I remember as a kid, like I would get a bag of those, and those things are worse than potato chips, man. I could just eat the whole bag in one sitting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I actually want some dangerous. Right now, but I can't chew into the microphone.
Right.
I have, but yeah, I am on the road again in Ann Arbor, and we'll get a little bit more into that later. But as Willie Nelson always says,
on the road again.
Ooh, I love it.
I love it. I've never been.
Oh man,
this is always one of the favorite things for me to do is introduce a new drop to you.
Oh, I love that. I've actually, it's really ironic you played that. I've been on quite a Willie Nelson kick the last couple of days.
I can imagine that. So this you love, yeah, because he also seems like a good like fall kind of cold weather transition, kind of reminiscing, because his voice kind of puts me into like a reminiscing mood. Maybe it's just On the Road Again song too, which is all about going to do new things and just experiencing life. But
yeah.
It's post-Halloween. I hope everyone had a happy Halloween. Did you dress up as anything? Did we talk about this?
I did not dress up as anything.
You said you were going to.
I was boring. No, I said my friend was going to.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah, no.
I got one more bad costume for you, and I want to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
Shaun White, famous snowboarder.
Oh, I think I know what this costume is. Continue.
Dressed up as, I believe the character's name is Simple Jack, which is a character within a movie. So in the movie Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller was an actor. And so Tropic Thunder, the plot of it is that they're filming a movie in like a war-based movie in a war-torn area, and it goes wrong. So all these actors that don't even realize it's going wrong. And one of the previous movies that one of the actors was in, Ben Stiller, was called something. And it was about a character named Simple Jack, who is a special needs character. And Shaun White dressed up as Simple Jack, that character from the movie Tropic Thunder, and people didn't like it. And the Special Olympics wrote a notice saying, "Hey, not cool. We're first of all, the Special Olympics has probably paid Shaun White to advertise for the Special Olympics, and they've probably done events for them and stuff. And they're like, not cool. We don't. It's not a good look. And it's like, first of all, you got to put it on your own Instagram."
Right.
But he wrote an apology, and I'll read it to you, because that's the only fair thing to do if I'm going to bring it up, to say that he did apologize.
That's fair.
And I'm looking at the costume right now, and it's, shall I say, alarming. And he has the perfect I don't know if those are fake teeth or what, but I don't know. It's alarming. He even did like the face. I have a weird thing about, I don't know how I feel about all right, and sue me if this might make me sound like a grouch. I don't know how I feel about watching adults like pose as their Halloween characters in pictures. It always kind of seems a little cheesy to me. Like watching, like I don't know why. Anyway, especially when you're dressing up as a special needs character.
Right. Well, first of all, I don't understand why you would, in your right mind, think that it's. I don't know. Well, here's the tricky thing with Halloween, though.
And I will read the apology, but go ahead.
Perfect. I think the tricky thing with Halloween is, you could also pick somebody, and do it with good intentions, right? I'm not saying, I have no idea what Shaun White was thinking. I don't know the guy personally, right?
We could both say this is not as bad as the Nazi costume, especially dressing your son up as a Nazi. Or Hitler, rather. Chief Nazi.
Right. I also saw a picture online that was a picture of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton had blackface on.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
This was from probably like 10, 15 years ago.
I don't remember it, but I think I've heard about that.
Right.
And I will say this. I bet you, this is not me justifying it, but I bet you his justification was that he's playing a character within a movie. So this is not only like a character within a character is what he's playing. Character Inception.
Right.
And it's like, no, that's a lot of mama hoo hoo to me. I don't know if that's what's happening. I don't know if I fully support that claim. But anyway, let me read his apology. I owe everyone in the Special Olympics community an apology for my poor choice of Halloween costume the other night. It was a last-minute decision. It was the wrong one. The last-minute decision. Okay, anyway. The Special Olympics were right to call me out on it. They do great work supporting so many tremendous athletes, and I'm sorry for being insensitive. Lesson learned. So I'll say this. As far as apologies goes, that's a solid apology. People give a lot of, like, those apologies where it's like, I mean, listen, I didn't think it was a big deal, but clearly you guys do, so I guess I'm going to apologize.
Right.
But he was.
No, it seems like he owned up to it.
Especially since he probably, once again, gets paid by them in some extent. And I don't know this. I'm just throwing that out there. This is not. We're not checked by any
investigative
government. Yeah. But I'd imagine that he's done some work for the Special Olympics where they paid him to show up for stuff. And he's like, yeah, you guys pay me, and that's not cool if you support me and I put that out there.
I think
whether it's right or not, check your wallet.
Right. I think even regardless if he's been paid or not, I mean, I think he has probably been an inspiration to a lot of Olympians, including Special Olympians.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I would agree with you though. I mean,
this is lazy.
I
lazy
think, right.
thinking.
Yeah, and sometimes that'll come back to bite you in the ass a little bit. I mean, but I have to give the guy a lot of credit.
He'll be fine.
Right, but he could have not apologized at all. So
right,
so, it takes guts.
I mean, what's the big deal? It's just a character within a movie. It's not like I was making fun of him. I was just playing the character. Sorry, you probably hear the noise. That's me trying to grab some of these animal crackers.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I have some unfortunate news. So as you know, Jared, but our listeners don't know, I was at the very at least for Chomutov, it's very famous. I was at the Derby today, which is Pirati Chomutov, my town's hockey team, against another town called Litvinov, which they're about 35 kilometers away or so. And I have to tell you, man, it was a nail biter until the very end. I think both teams scored in the third period.
It was 0-0 to the third period?
It was 0-0 to the third period, which surprised me because every other Pirati game I've been to and I've watched, usually they play kind of sloppy in the first period. They tend to get it together in the second period, and then in the third period, they usually play the best. At least that's what I've seen. I'm no hockey expert.
Yeah, that's not a great strategy, usually, to be fair.
Right. But they really played their hearts out. They fought. I was really happy to see that they were really keeping up with Litvinov because Litvinov is up a lot higher on the table this season than Pirati Chomutov is. So I was with a colleague's husband at the game. We were walking around the stadium in between the periods because there's like an 18-minute break. So we got up and moved around a little bit. I went to the fan shop today and I got a Pirati scarf, right? And I remember telling my friend that I was there with, I remember telling him, I hope this is a good luck scarf. We sat down 2 minutes into the third period. This was right after I bought the scarf. They scored a goal.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, hell yes, this is great. I was waving my scarf around. It was awesome. Yes. It was great. And then of course, 2 or 3 minutes later in the third period, they ended up scoring this crazy goal where this guy was... Yeah. Litvinov scored a crazy goal. They were almost parallel with the goal. And somehow he top shelved it past the goalie. Ooh. When I say parallel, he was like sideways,
perpendicular
to the goal. It was crazy. Thank you, perpendicular. And so that was just crazy. And then they played overtime, and this was something new that I haven't seen before. In the Czech Republic, when they have overtime, it's 3v3, as in like 3 skaters and 1 goalie. So I guess 4v4, but only 3 skaters out. I think in the United States, it's either 4v4 or maybe even 5v5. And
how many are in normal dysregulation?
5.
Okay.
5 plus a goalie.
Right. Oh, so 6.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, you guys don't count the goalies? Like that's how it's counted?
Yeah, you do. I mean, you do, I guess.
Okay, because in soccer they just say 11, which includes the...
Right. You have 1 goalie, usually 2 defensemen, a left winger, a center, and a right winger.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it was 3v3, and it was the first 5 minutes of overtime. And Litvinov ended up scoring a goal. And in hockey, it's not the same as soccer where you have a certain amount of time. It's just first goal wins. Exactly.
Ooh.
So
I was bummed that way, though.
Right, I do too. I was kind of bummed though. I was really hoping my scarf would be a lucky scarf, but they fought hard. I'm proud of my Pirates. I'm still a loyal Komutal Pirati
At the very
fan.
least, they gained a new fan.
I mean, I've been a fan, since the first game, even though they've lost. Actually, they've lost every game that I have gone to see, unfortunately. Maybe I'm just bad luck.
I think you need to get the hint. It's actually the complete opposite. There's no amount of clothing or paraphernalia you can wear or wave around that will not make you a bad luck charm.
Right. That's true. But it was still it was a fun game to watch. But unfortunately, they just couldn't capitalize at the end. But they fought hard, and I gotta give them credit. So a shout out to my Pirates,
but a shout out nonetheless. I think they earned it
for sure. They were, in my opinion, they won with the amount of heart. We can put it that way.
Yes. By the way, this is gonna be a little inside baseball, but I forgot to open the Trello. And my whole world is rocked all of a sudden because I just realized, and I was like, well, where am I supposed to be right now? You know what it is?
Nice.
Because I'm on the road again.
On the road again.
And I have
yes.
I have one computer, and so I don't have the dual screen action that I usually have. Where
first world problems. You're only working with one screen this episode.
It's just too much going on for my eyesight. But anyway, do you have any shout outs you want to give? Speaking of Kumatov fighting valiantly.
Yeah, I actually do. My first shout out feels a little weird saying this, but my first shout out goes to just Michigan college football in general, because the Wolverines trounced Penn State yesterday.
You took mine.
42. Oh, sorry.
I was there.
42-3. Oh, you went to the game?
I was there.
Oh, nice. That would have been a fun game to go to.
I have more to talk about that in a little bit, but I did go to it. It was it was a what one would call a trouncing. We have a friend. A little part of me hopes he listens. Jeez, I spilled. So this bag for the animal crackers. It's not the most robust of bags, and I just realized I got crumbs all over my backpack.
Uh-oh.
I still do have the ticket. I'll take a picture of it. But we have a friend, a mutual friend. He was more of what some would call... Sorry, now I'm just obsessed with all the crumbs that are scattered in my bag. More of what some would call a brother, fraternal brother. And his name is... Well, I'll just give his name because he's never going to listen to this. His name's Ryan. And I don't know if you happen to ever see...
He's a huge
Do you happen to see him on his Twitter? I know you're not a big Twitter person.
I don't know, but I'm sure
he's
talking all
He was what one would call the complete opposite of a sore loser. Like what's like a sore winner?
An arrogant winner?
Yeah, I guess so. He was getting in arguments with one of our other college friends when Michigan beat, was it State they beat last week or whatever?
Yeah, or two weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, he was getting into a full-on argument, and I just was reading through it, and I wanted to just comment and be like, neither of you guys need to be doing this right now. This is not necessary.
But yeah, so my other half of that shout out though is a Spartan. I have to finish my shout outs.
Oh my gosh.
My other shout out goes to Michigan State University for beating the Maryland Terps 24-3. Their defense was on lockdown. They only scored a field goal the whole game.
Nice.
The Terps did.
Terps.
So yeah, so it was a good weekend for football in the state of Michigan.
It
was. For sure.
It was, and you took mine. I was so happy that I finally had a shout out, and that was it. But yeah, I was there, and it was a good feeling for sure. And Can
you describe the atmosphere to our listeners out there?
I'm not even a fan, yet you can't help but just get soaked up into the environment. I can kind of give you a little bit. Well, first of all, for those of you who don't know, the Big House, which is where U of M plays football, is the biggest stadium in the United States, and apparently it's the second largest stadium worldwide, but then also the 34th largest sports venue. So maybe stadium is a specific style of sports venue.
Could be.
So there might be like an arena or something that's bigger that they might say. So it's a huge. Essentially, it's huge. It holds over 100,000 people, and I was also in the student section, which is a first time for me. And what in the student section, people stand up during the entire time, other than like halftime. And so we were standing on the benches the entire time. And I will say this: I was surrounded by grad school people because my sister's in grad school, so it was a little more chill than if you were like up front with some of the younger youngins. But it was you could like it was electric. You could definitely feel 100,000 people, and it's an odd feeling to it almost. And I think it also almost kind of warps your reality of what 100,000 people is, because at one time it's huge, but then at the same time when you're in there, it feels so like you feel such part of like this like vibe and crowd that it almost kind of shrinks around you. Like it does like if you were say to not know that it's 100,000, I can imagine people walking out of there being like, "What? There was 100,000 people in there?" It's more if you see it from the outside that it makes sense, I think. Also, I've been there a lot, so maybe my it's probably one of my most visited arenas. So maybe my perception's a little warped as well, to be fair. But you know, it's kind of cheesy, but I love the flyovers. There was the flyover.
The flyovers are awesome. I was going to say that too.
I hate to say that. Like I almost kind of feel guilty saying I like the flyovers, but I like the flyovers. There, I said it. I'm an American, goddammit. And I like to see some big shooty airplanes make some loud noises. And there was also the Goodyear blimp there the whole time, filming the game, I assume. And we had enjoyable conversations talking about the pure, like, kind of uselessness of a blimp and how it's really only good for, I guess, filming a football game. Anything else it seems kind of useless for.
And advertising, probably.
Yeah, for Goodyear, I guess, because that's the only blimp most people know is Goodyear, or the one that got blown down in World War II.
Right.
Well, World War II? Sorry, I'm eating more crackers.
I'm not sure, but it was the
Hindenburg.
Heisenberg blimp.
Hindenburg.
Thank you, Hindenburg. Yeah.
Hindenburg.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not up on my blimp history today. Unfortunately, that was my.
Tune into episode 41. Blimps.
Right.
Sniffing on gator piss. Real quirky.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, there's something special about football season in the fall. But we'll get more into that when we talk about tailgating.
Okay, because I do have more I want
to
say on that, but I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Right, me too. So my first shout out goes to a doctor named Dr. Romano Rao, who is a consulting physician and cardiologist in India, who for the last 43 years, he has been helping poor people in India who cannot afford healthcare and treating them for free at a clinic called I think it's Begor Village in Bangalore. So
wow.
I think it's amazing. He's been running this clinic he goes every Sunday, and there's pictures, and you just see like people lined up all around him.
So is he just like a successful kind of to the point where he could retire early enough to just do that?
Well, no, I think he has his own practice, but he just,
in America
on Sundays. No, this is in India. He's in India.
Sorry, I see what you're saying. At first, I thought you meant he was a. I thought you meant. For some reason, I thought I heard that he moved there. He still supports himself with a his like okay. Because I almost felt guilty, but whenever I hear stuff like that, I almost kind of have to I have this knee-jerk reaction to figure out how they either support themselves. It's like I never want to I can never just listen to someone and say that I dropped everything to just take care of these poor people. It's like that's very honorable and I respect that. But I need to understand how you're now not one of those poor people. How can you do it and still sustain your own life?
Right, it's not always feasible, but I think it's great.
But that's cool. No, it is great. And once again, I don't
his Sundays. Yeah,
I don't mean to downplay.
Right. No, I didn't think you were at all whatsoever. But so I think it's really amazing. So shout out to you, Dr. Rao, for being an amazing human being, helping out all these people. My next shout out goes out to a Swiss billionaire. Feels a little weird saying that, but goes out to a Swiss billionaire named
Chad's now a American millionaire also.
I wish. Wouldn't that be nice? But goes out to a Swiss billionaire and conservationist named Hans-Jörg. I think it's Weiss. It's W-Y-S-S. Weiss. I'm not sure. But he will be donating $1 billion over the next 10 years through his foundation to protect 30% of the planet by 2030. So shout out to you, Mr. Weiss, for putting your money where your mouth is and helping out all of these innocent animals and wildlife that sadly a lot of humans have been causing them to go extinct and destroying all these habitats.
And that's
he said that. Yeah, go ahead.
That's part of our American reactionary mentality too. Is there's all this science to back up that even the most simple steps should be taken to prepare ourselves for the future, and just no one gives a shit because their gas is cheap for their SUV.
Right, exactly. So to achieve his goal, Mr. Weiss has partnered with the National Geographic Society, the Nature Conservancy, and also the Argentine Conservation Group, Fundación Flora y Fauna, to launch the Weiss Campaign for Nature. So shout out to you, Mr. Weiss, for saving all these different habitats and animals. I think that is amazing.
For sure.
And now my last shout out goes out to, I try to always find a country to give a shout out to in every one of these episodes.
I mean, that billionaire was so rich, he's essentially his own country.
I mean, that's true. That's true. It's also crazy to think about how much money $1 billion is.
Oh, I know, especially in proportion to him, because he's so rich that giving away $1 billion is not that big of an impact on him. But it was put to me one way, and I'm about to Google it. Damn, I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was essentially how many times it takes to get from $1 million to $1 billion. When you put it into proportion that way, and I can't think of what the math is off the top of my head, and I don't feel like Googling it. And now I feel like I even regret bringing this up. But there was some billionaire that I was listening to in a podcast, and he's like, "Let me put this in perspective for you. In order to be, damn it, I'm so sorry. I regret even bringing this up.
Just Google it. It's all good.
All right, hold on. I'm just because all it is 1 billion divided by 1 million. I just can't do that math off the top of my head because I'm not that smart. Okay.
Well, those are huge numbers as well.
So what he was saying is, to be a millionaire, is a big deal. Obviously, he says he doesn't think people fully realizes that $1 billion is 1,000 times more than $1 million. And it really puts into proportion what it means to, one, give away $1 billion, and two, to be a billionaire, and three, for organizations to even receive a couple million of that billion, which is still just even 10 million, which is huge for anyone, is a tiny sliver of that 1 billion.
Right.
That could do a lot of damage, 1 billion. And a lot of good, too, to be fair. I don't know why I always have to go
Right.
negative.
It's all good. All right. Well, my
And he
last
means
shout
well.
out. Exactly. My last shout out goes out to the country of Mexico or Mexico for helping all of these Honduran migrants from if you're in the United States, I'm sure you've heard the term Migrant Caravan. So apparently the Mexican people have been really helping out these people in need. I mean, these are basically refugees seeking asylum. I'm not really sure. I don't know very much about the caravan, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to discuss that. But
Dodge Caravan?
no,
That was a dumb joke. I'm sorry.
no,
Mama,
not quite. But apparently Mexicans have been feeding them, clothing them, giving them medicine. So I really have to give a shout out to all of the people in Mexico helping out these people in need. You know, I think there are a lot of Americans out there who just assume that these people are going to try to like come illegally, or they're people who don't have skills or something like this. I don't really know.
There's just a lot of fear of the unknown and foreigners. It's probably, well, not probably, it's from ignorance.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. So shout out to you, Mexico, for spreading your love, your food, and your kindness with these Hondurans who are in need.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, sorry.
You're good. All right. Well, Jared, we are talking about tailgating, and we'll be getting to that more in a little bit. But an important aspect to tailgating, I would say, is having some tasty brews to enjoy while you're enjoying that fall or autumn weather. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. But I'll say the one thing that is not unique about tailgating, but the one thing about tailgating is it's also known for more shitty beers. However,
That's true.
Because I am here to bring you the tailgating side of things this week, we decided to do a little switcheroo and have Chad give the beer review of something other than a Bud Light or a Coors or.
That's true.
Although I was gonna say Labatt, but I actually genuinely enjoy a Labatt. To be, and
a cold Labatt's not too bad.
Yeah, that can
too
sometimes, like if it's at a bar and there's nothing that interests me, I'll easily take that and be happy.
Especially on tap. I feel like Labatt's not too bad on tap.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, well, yeah, so as Jared mentioned, he is not reviewing any beers today, but I am reviewing one by a craft brewery called Primator. I'll show Jared.
Yes,
I'll take
please.
a picture in a moment. But as Jared knows, I am a huge fan of wheat beers, or Weizen is the German name for it. I believe the Czech name is, going to try to say it, a little bonus untranslatable for our listeners out there. I believe it's Pszeniczne. Parada. Thank you, sir. But yes, so this is from a Czech craft brewery. It's a half-liter glass. Or glass bottle. What's kind of cool about it, though, is that it has cool little details.
By the way,
that are,
don't
like,
forget about
etched
the
into
microphone.
glass.
You're staring at this. You're so amazed with this bottle that you're very. I can barely hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
But I'm seeing what you're saying now. They're like indentations.
Yeah.
What are those?
So the indentations are, there's like a castle or a church. I think that's a castle right there. It's hard to see. I'll try to take pictures.
Oh yeah,
We'll see.
kind of looks like a school bus, doesn't it?
No.
Oh, is it
it's
just
a
the
castle.
lighting that's bad for me?
It's probably the lighting. Yeah, my kitchen lights aren't the strongest. Then there are what I would assume would be hops
Right.
that look, hops, and then it's etched into the bottom of the bottle, Primator, on both sides, which is kind of cool. So let me, little untranslatable tradition, let me take a quick selfie. I'm actually, as we have mentioned before, I'm actually more of a glass guy. So I actually poured this out in the glass. But
Oh, and by the way, some of the beers that I did for our previous reviews, I did. Sorry, I can't help but laugh at that. I did.
Good.
I did put them in like especially the double IPA and the Dunkel. I put those in the glasses, and I think it was a little bit better. I'll be honest with you.
Makes a difference.
I think it helps, especially since those beers are more craft beers, so there's the kind of the sediment. So I think it kind of helped mix them up a little bit. And I don't think I'd say taste wise it was actually similar, but I think it was more like fragrant. Obviously, I guess there was more space for it to come out. But but it was very nice, and it was nice to see the color of them too.
Exactly.
I did take pictures of those, which you guys have now, or you have seen them already. But I did take pictures of the bottle. So I mean, of the actual of it in a glass.
But I have to say the color of this Weizen is really good. It's kind of got that. If any of our listeners out there are fans of a Weizen beer, a lot of them can be, well, the German term is like trüb, which is like it's, I don't know, kind of like
cloudy.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Yes. It's like a cloudy beer, so it's not like a Pilsner where it has that kind of more goldenish or amber tint to it.
And so this is not what the Czech people are known for. The Czech people are known for the Pilsner.
Exactly, which is one of the reasons why I bought this, was I was really curious to see
their take on a wheat beer.
Yeah. But the other thing that caught my attention too on the bottle was just that it says Czech Craft Brewery. I'm assuming the brewer is a guy named Peter, I think that's Kolina. Premator Craft Brewery. I'm trying to read it. It's been around since 1872.
Nice.
So it's been around a while.
Old school.
It's got a nice crisp flavor. I will say this is probably not the most, or probably the best autumn or fall beer. I'd say this is probably better on a hot summer day.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I like about the wheat beers, is that they've got that trüb, that cloudy kind of, which gives it a more thicker kind of feel to it. But especially wheat beers. I mean, not mine, because what I was drinking was a double IPA. But like they do tend to be lighter on the alcohol. So even though they are kind of a little more fulfilling, they are still not as alcoholic, which also can give it more of a lighter taste.
Right. So speaking of beers, I was scrolling through my Insta feed the other day. Mm-hmm. I saw that you were at the Heidelberg. I
was, yeah. They're out of boots.
Oh, bummer.
So that's why I had just a normal. I mean, it's the same size. It was a Mass, but it's not the same.
Can you tell our viewers out there what a Mass is?
A Mass is what the Germans call a liter of beer. So a boot, which is the sort of stereotypical way to drink a German liter of beer out of. It is most boots. I mean, there are 2-liter boots as well, but your standard boot would be a liter, and a boot is also technically a Mass, because a Mass is a liter of beer.
Yep. And that's what they drink at Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Do you know the trick, Jared, to drink a boot so the bubble doesn't develop in the heel and it doesn't splash you in the face?
You know, you've mentioned that to me before, because we've had a boot together. And I believe it's to drink it sideways.
Yeah, hit that ham horn, my dude.
Good.
Exactly.
Because I didn't totally remember, and I was like, maybe this is just for the best, so I don't embarrass myself.
Right.
In front of all my sister's friends.
That's fair.
And
you want to drink it sideways. Exactly. Because if you drink it with the toe facing forward,
air gets is it because air gets trapped in the edge of the boot?
Exactly.
Okay.
As you tip the boot to drink it, eventually, it will cause an air bubble. And when you tilt the boot back downwards,
the air bubble pops
on the table. Yeah.
So I thought I remembered, and I'm glad I did get it right, just in case. But I was like, maybe this is for the best, so I can just avoid one more spot where I can embarrass myself.
That's fair. That's fair. I was just trying to look out for you in case you do drink another boot.
I might. I don't know. I'm actually going to see two of our very good friends later today. Well, more me, but you're very good friends too. Now, I'm not going to take that away from you. Guardo and Chris after this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
I said hello.
So we haven't officially. I don't think we've officially agreed on a place, but we're going to get dinner and I assume a beer from somewhere. So maybe we'll go to get a schnitzel, because you can get schnitzels there too, can't you?
Where, at the Heidelberg?
Yeah.
I mean, let me tell you this much.
Chad, the German
great.
snob.
The food's not great at the Heidelberg. I would go to Metzger's if you want legit German food.
But that's like outside of. That's like in.
That's closer to Dexter.
There.
Yeah,
which we can do. Which is
But
maybe we will do
that.
The food's
all right, but it's
how's Metzger's on price?
It's, I mean,
a little pricier.
The thing is both of them are a little expensive.
Yeah, all right.
Actually.
Well, we're not going to go to either of those. I think it might go to Grizzly Peak.
That was going to be my recommendation.
That's what I was thinking. When I went on my little wander this morning, I was thinking Arbor Brewery, but I'm not a huge fan of their beers, to be honest with you. And I was thinking, is it Acadia? There's also.
Yeah, I think there's an Arcadia brewery somewhere.
Oh, by the way, this is getting way ahead of ourselves because there are. We're just going. Yeah, I was going to say we might want to just. Once again, it's hard to look at my notes.
You're good.
Think in my head.
Used to it. It's all
with
good.
There's so much going on with one screen now. But anyway, one thing I love about Ann Arbor is just the abundance of breweries. They're everywhere.
And just good food,
too. Good food. You cannot like. I think this is I'm going to say underrated is how good the food is, and it's at a stone's throw. There's a lot of, like, for example, a place I wanted to go to but I didn't have enough time, and I wanted to go to this morning was Fleetwood Diner, because that's always one of my favorites. Just get some coffee and a big plate of hippie hash, and I would have been happy.
You got to tell our listeners out there what hippie hash is. It's so delicious.
I've only had it a couple times, but I've tried. So what it is hash browns, which is just cut up potatoes. And then on top of it, they have eggs. There's some sort of meat. I believe you can choose whatever meat you want. There's vegetables. I don't remember exactly what vegetables
broccoli.
Are. I know there's broccoli. There's more than broccoli in there, though. I just haven't been there. Probably. I mean, onions is a popular one. I mean, I can Google it now, but it's just off the top of my head. I don't, because I didn't go, and I haven't been there in a few years.
Good. Yeah, the Fleetwood is amazing. Actually, I was really surprised, but there's also a Fleetwood in not in East Lansing, but in Lansing as well. I didn't know that. I thought it was only an Ann Arbor thing.
I thought it was too.
Yeah, but it's also in Lansing. So to all of our listeners out there in Lansing, hop over to the Fleetwood as well. It's delicious. So you mentioned you were on a walk.
Yes.
On a little stroll. Where'd you go? What were you looking at?
So I walked around. My sister lives very close to not very close, but she lives close to Ross, which she's in grad school, and she lives close to the Ross building, which I don't know directions around Ann Arbor, so forgive me. I can't say the north end because I have no idea. But I just know how to kind of sense my way around as I'm walking around. But like so I walked around the campus, and I walked by. When I was in high school, I was in a program called LEAD, and what LEAD is where they take, I believe, minorities. I believe it was minorities. Now I think about it, there was mostly minorities there. There was one white dude, but it turns out he was half Mexican. Anyway, and like it's like a business program for like high school kids between junior and junior senior year, maybe, I believe it is, and we do like kind of business related stuff, and we stayed in the dorms, which was in Markley, so I walked by the dorms, and then where else did I go? And then I just walked around the city. Really, I walked by. There's this one building. See, I don't even know. I like there was this. Where's that? You know that quad where people like play sports in, and it almost looks like Hogwarts.
Yeah.
There's also that like
what's that? The law library, isn't it?
I don't know. What's that building with the? I love how I'm giving a speech about being in Ann Arbor and I know nothing. What's that? You know that gold ball that there is there? I took a picture of it. But
ball.
Yeah, I can actually just send it to you right now. I guess we're
send it to me.
We've got technology.
That's true. The beauty of technology.
Because I'm not sure what it is, and it's in a very actually surprisingly conspicuous. Is that the word? That's obvious.
I think so.
Conspicuous place, and I'm surprised that I haven't noticed it. But I just sent it to you. You'll notice where it is
on Facebook or on.
I texted it to you.
Okay, let me take a look.
But anyway, so I walked around, and it's and I think for the first time in a long time, I because of this podcast, because of the fine people like you, I actually took a minute to I took more time to take in what's going on around me, and I also feel like I was in just a more general nostalgic place because it was meeting a lot of my sister's friends. There was also this weird feeling of almost feeling like a tourist in my own like home. Ann Arbor is not my home. I grew up in Metro Detroit, and by the way, rule for everyone listening to this right now: Ann Arbor is not Metro Detroit. Those are two different things.
Not at all. Not even close.
Ann Arbor is probably the first big city once you go west. Like that's like the first big city outside of Metro Detroit, but it is not Metro Detroit. Ann Arbor and Metro Detroit are two different things. But anyway, even though I didn't really grow up in Ann Arbor, I did spend a lot of time there, especially actually more recently before I left. And so like there was like a bit of nostalgia, but nothing like I wasn't crying as I was walking around. It was actually kind of nice to see like how stuff has changed and be like, oh man, it's nice to be home. But it was weird talking to my sister's friends and them being like, yeah, over there's this and there's that and you can do this here. And I actually kind of had to fight back the urge to be like, yeah, no, I know. And they got to a point where I just was like, oh, okay. And in my head, I was like, I should probably, not to sound like I'm some sort of
Mama hoo-hoo.
fancy person or something, but I almost felt like, I know this area probably better than you. You're actually you're from Maryland. You just moved here a couple months ago.
Right.
But I got to, but there's no point. There's not much to brag about. So I was just like, yeah, no, okay. Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, I'll have to check that out. Also, that's how Jared does small talk, just by being agreeable and letting people talk. I don't know why I just talked in third person, though. That was weird. I don't like that. Anyway, so also yesterday, which was Saturday, today's Sunday, we went to the football game to watch, once as Chad said earlier, Michigan State Triggity Trounce.
You mean Michigan.
I know, I didn't realize that as I was saying as the second Triggity was coming out, I was like, damn it. Michigan, University of Michigan, Trounce, Penn State. And so beforehand, we did go to a little tailgating, and we went to, my sister, she's in the business school, as I said, so we went to the business school official, which I just hate hearing that, by the way, because it all sounds so, like, snooty whenever they say, like, oh, this is the Ross tailgate. It's like, ugh. Can I go to but I mean, they seem like very cool people. I'm not shitting on these people. They all seem like very nice people. But
I know what you mean, though.
It's just all perception. And actually, my sister, she went to Penn, and she used to always make fun of like the Wharton people, because that's also the business school at UPenn. And they would like walk around with like briefcases and stuff. Anyway,
oh god.
But it was fun.
Super
so
snooty.
what it was at the bus is what they call it, and it's this bus that have you heard of the bus by any chance?
I have not. No.
So it's this bus that apparently never moves, but people just all go gravitate around it, and there's a little area that's a block that's chained off, so it's an area that you can drink, and although it's just outside. And it was actually surprised from what I heard from everyone is that it was more packed than it about ever is. And so it was packed where you could almost barely move around. And there were people on top of the bus. There was a platform and there was a DJ, and there were like some people dancing up there. And you could buy a cup, and they had kegs, or you could just bring your own beer. We brought our own beer. A cup was $15.
Smart.
A cup was $15, but usually it's $10. Apparently, this because it was Penn State was like a quote-unquote premium game, so they charged a little bit more. Apparently, they knew what they were doing because, once again, the area was filled to the brim, so it worked.
Do you think? Do you know how many kegs there were?
I don't know how many they had like in the background that I couldn't even see, but out at any specific time, there were probably about, let me think, 3, 4. That's probably how many they had in total. And actually, from what I heard, someone that one of my sister's like friend of a friend called dibs of the keg after. I think they work with like to organize it, and they were gonna have people over to their house to have like an after party later that night, and the beer would be free at that point. And
Nice.
And we didn't go, but it was so funny why we didn't go too. We didn't go because we were going to this bar beforehand, and they offered a we were going in there. I'm trying to think of what the bar was. Garage? Was it the Garage? Have you heard of the Garage?
Yeah, the Garage is really cool.
It
I've
is.
been there before.
However, they were offering offering. They were there was a cover, and me and my sister and her husband were like, yeah, we're not playing a cover to sit at a bar.
Right.
Like this is not
That's
some sort of like we like this place, but it's not some sort of exclusive place. But it's probably once again there were a lot of people in town that night because it was the big game. So we didn't go there. We just drank at her place, and I ended up going to bed at like 10 o'clock. I realized, though, also, tailgating is an exhausting thing. I mean, usually it's even more exhausting from what I hear if it's a morning game. Because
morning games are the worst.
One, you wake up and essentially are drinking right away.
7 a.m. usually.
And two, there tends to be more time for especially at the bus, because there is a noise ordinance, I believe. So if they did do an after party, it'd have to be cut off kind of prematurely. But if it's a morning game, then they usually do an after party at the bus after and bring the kegs back. and you know,
Sounds a little
and that'll
excessive.
start about 30 minutes before the game ends. But everyone parties after the game. I think that's normal. So tell me about your tailgating experience, because I actually, to be honest with you, don't have. I've been to a lot of games, but I don't have a lot of tailgating experience.
Okay. So I mean, I tailgated at MSU for 4 years, so I definitely a little
Wow.
bit at Albion, not much, but a little
Yeah,
bit
but
at
can
Albion.
you even count that?
I would say so.
Out of the
I would
back of
say-
someone's Ford Fiesta,
I mean,
drinking
in-
a box of
in-
wine.
In theory, that's tailgating, you know. Bare bones tailgating, but tailgating nonetheless. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I feel weird talking about MSU because we're doing an Ann Arbor on the road.
I mean, you're not
again.
hurting my feelings. We're
That's
talking about
fair.
tailgating too. It's not just about U of M.
Also true. But yeah, so anyways, so for me, for tailgating, I absolutely despised morning games because I would get up at, 6 or 7 because
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to
That's
drink or
rough.
drive nor park my car anywhere on campus. I would walk there. So a lot of times I would have some friends come over. Shout out to my buddy Shane. We've tailgated a lot of games. And whenever he would come over and we'd tailgate, we would wake up and we'd usually shotgun a beer to start our day. And I'm sorry, but I think if you start your day by shotgunning a beer, you're either going to have a great day or a really horrible
I'm glad
day.
you said
One or
well,
the
and
other.
I have an example of both.
Okay.
When we were driving to our tailgate, we were in an Uber. No, I think we walked, but we were in an Uber. We were going to breakfast before that. But this was at like 10 o'clock. We were going to like breakfast, lunch, brunchy kind of thing, which I'm going to talk about that place because that place was dope. But anyway, people were already partying, even though this was a later game. And we saw, which I'll actually send you this picture as well. We saw someone in their front yard shotgun a beer. And in that time, we watched him shotgun it and go like, yeah. And then we saw him kind of like hold his stomach for a bit and like go like, whoo, whoo. And he kind of like started squinting.
Uh-oh.
And then we just saw him almost like a deer that had broken its paw and realized that it could not go on any farther. We saw him just walk around to the side, like / back of the house. and we were in this lift, and I was looking behind me, and just like out of the very corner of like, I could still see him, and I was like looking at the light, like, don't turn red. And I'm like, he's gonna throw up. And like as the light turned green, I just saw him go, bleh, all beer just throw up on
Oh,
the.
God.
And it was like, oh man, we all knew it was coming. It was odd, even though I'm not interested in seeing people throw up. One, it was just beer, so it was just water coming out of his mouth anyway.
Right.
But two, it was oddly satisfying to watch that entire thing play out. And then there's
I
other
went to
people
0
there
to
too,
60 real fast.
But that can happen. Don't tell me you haven't seen that happen before. You haven't seen someone
I've
do the
seen-
immediate chug to throw up.
Oh, yeah.
We've all seen that
Numerous
before.
times.
If
Numerous
you've been
times.
a reckless drinker in your day, or been
Right.
around a reckless drinker.
Or just at a morning tailgate long enough, it's bound to happen. But I
Yes.
also do want to clarify for our listeners.
By the
out
way,
there,
look at the picture I sent you because you'll even be able to point out who and this will be on Instagram as well. But you'll be able to point out who the guy is once you see it. Take a guess which one is having a hard day.
Hold up. I'm trying to. Well, it's the one that's shotgunning the beer, right?
I would
Isn't he
say
shotgunning the
look at
beer
the
in
guy
the
to the
picture?
left. Look at the guy to the left
Oh, it's the guy in the left with the green.
with the vest on, with his arms
Yeah.
on his waist.
Uh-huh.
What you can't see is his face, and because I see it once we drive past him because we're driving.
Right. Right.
His face is doing like that.
Yeah, it was just too much. Too
Trying to
fast.
like breathe. Okay, I think I'm gonna make it. Then about 5 seconds later, he's like, "Nope, walk around, do this. Have at least a little bit of self-respect and puke in privacy."
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, he had
I
just
have
taken
to,
just taken one, and and that girl, by the way, what you don't see is that girl took one with him, and she's on her second one.
Nice champ.
She's fine.
She's a champion. I do want to clarify for our listeners what shotgunning a beer is, because I think a lot of our listeners who aren't from the United States, they don't know what it is, and unfortunately, it is a part of tailgating culture.
I argue it's a college / tailgating staple. I'm not a good shotgunner or chugger of really any sort, but
Right.
But please explain it.
Absolutely. So in the United States, first of all, I think it'd be very difficult to shotgun a beer here in the Czech Republic because all the cans usually are half a liter. And
I've
I'm
seen
sorry,
it
but
happen
that's just.
before, by the way.
I mean, I have too, but I don't think I have the skill set to do it. But basically, what shotgunning beer is, you take a can. Usually, you use a key, and you tilt the can on its side. You poke a hole through with your key. Ideally, the bigger the hole, the better.
But your mouth has to be able to fit on it.
Yes, exactly.
And you can poke this hole because you'll hold it sideways where like the beer will be tilted, so there will be a little bubble at the bottom rather than.
Exactly. So none will spill out.
Right.
But you want to also make sure you poke the hole in the right spot so you can kind of tilt it back up and crack it open.
Yeah, because once
So
you
get
crack
the
it
right
open,
airflow
it'll just shoot out.
Right. And that's why we call it a shotgun, is because it just comes out real quick.
Right. And another thing that we've all seen, by the way, is the shotgun gone wrong, where it spills out the top. Mm-hmm. We've all seen that as well. However, I'll say this. I can't even believe I didn't start like this. I'm such a bad storyteller. I was awoken Saturday morning to the sound. Literally, I was awoken to the band practicing the fight song.
Nice.
And I was like, this is almost like I'm in some sort of U of M Disney movie right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went a little bit more not away from Disney movie when I was then awoken a little bit later to the sound of people literally yelling, chug, 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 chug. And I go out to my sister's living room. I look across the street, and I can't believe I didn't think to take a picture of this. There is another thing I think I'm going to have you explain to some of our foreign listeners. There is a beer bong. And they were on, I would believe, the third floor of their apartment.
Okay.
And they had people going by, and I believe you Venmo people money, and they'll give you a shot or two of beer, and they they'll cheer you on to shoot it to take it,
Okay.
And they have a sign that says, mom's bong for free. And then under that it says daddy's too.
Yes. Oh my God, that's great.
I cannot believe, and I'm mad I didn't take a picture of the sign because I looked at it this morning, and the mom's shotgun for free is not there, but the daddy's two part is still there.
Nice,
so maybe I can take a picture of that.
There you
but
go.
So I was literally awakened to the sound of people chanting chug chug chug, and I look out and you see people like at the bottom walking by and taking a hit of the shotgun. But please, for the people, excuse me, not shotgun, beer bong. So we explained the shotgun, which is another way to get yourself as drunk. By the way, I think an important aspect of all of this is that the goal is to get as drunk as possible, as quick as possible, essentially, which I did not do, by the way. We had
I would
6
agree or
beers.
disagree with you on that.
We had 6 beers and like a bottle of champagne, which I had none of. I mean, champagne, cheap ass sparkling wine between the 3 of us. So it's not like I got drunk or anything. But I would say it is because I feel like people are trying to do this to sustain being inside of a college stadium where they do not sell alcohol.
Correct, but
it's about games, but games are both for fun and for getting drunk quickly, usually.
Right. Well, first, before we jump the gun, let me explain beer bonging, and then we can talk about these other things.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Chomping at the bit.
Right. There's a lot to talk about. I feel like tailgating is very unique to American culture.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to food. We haven't gotten to some of the
there's
setups.
a lot we still got to talk about. Exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, so a beer bong is basically where you have a funnel.
Yes.
A funnel with a tube.
Yes.
And usually there's a little latch or a switch.
Just like a simple hose style on and off switch.
Exactly. And I mean, in theory, I'm pretty sure higher the beer bong is, the more alcohol you can get down your gullet as quick as possible because, it goes down through gravity. Actually, I don't know. I'm no physicist, but I would assume that's why you want the high.
But I would say you could definitely probably get more in there.
Yeah.
If the tube's longer, even if it's a normal sized funnel.
Right. Exactly. And so that's what a beer bong is basically. And like you said, Jared, it definitely is there to get you as hammered as fast as possible. But I think the danger with tailgating is, especially if you're going to the game, you don't want to be one of those people, or maybe you do. I'm not here to judge, but you don't want to be that person that gets so drunk to the point where you can't go to the game. Right. Exactly.
It's so funny. It's funny that you say that. We were at the tailgate, and I met one of my sister's friends. Seemed like a perfectly lovely person. Also seemed like he had a few. And so we hung out with him at the party. And then we kind of broke away, and he was like telling the same story over and over again, and talking about how nice my sister was. Standard drunk etiquette.
Right.
And then so we did not see, and then so he went, and we hung out with him for a bit there. Then we saw him later as we were walking into the game. This was right at the entrance. We were walking in, him and his girlfriend, wife, fiance, or whatever, were actually walking out. Away from the stadium, and it's like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And he had that look in his face, that same look as that guy that I showed you a picture of that just did that beer bong. It's like, we're now in the shotgun. We're now in a territory of who knows what'll happen here, and whatever it is, it should not be in public.
and I gotta say, I think if college football stadiums just sold alcohol, people would probably drink a little less in excess like they do.
Yeah, because one, it'll be way more expensive, so people will be less inclined to get like 14 beers. And two, they also won't feel that, which is, once again, this is all ridiculous. We're talking about alcohol. We're all talking this. Ideally, everyone has self-control, but hey, it turns out no one does.
Right.
Yeah, it just seemed like that they could just like it would make sense. But I do also kind of understand why they would have want to, especially with the more for the liability of selling alcohol to a student with like a fake ID.
That's true.
That seems like a pretty big risk. However, I will say the thing I did go see a soccer game at the Big House. I saw Man U versus Real Madrid, I believe, and they do like those kind of. Yeah. They do those. We weren't together, were we?
No.
I think I went with
my
Don.
buddy Shane. Yeah,
but
you went with Don.
We do those They do those exhibition games for the Champions League teams, and so there they did sell beer, I believe, and it was actually kind of weird. I was like, oh, this is odd.
They had Modelo there.
Yeah, which I'm not a huge fan of anyway. So that's I would say, even though we're all over the place, I think we're still kind of on track, because things like hearing people say chug, chug, chug outside, and people kind of drinking on their porches, I'd say that's only kind of the first stage of tailgating, because I think from there it goes to where you go to places like the bus, for example, which I don't think they sold food, but if you go to some more personal setups, which are more common than I'd say the bigger things, where it's essentially what a tailgate is someone brings in usually their most tailgates, especially ones that are going to be at like a big game, it kind of costs money to get a good spot to tailgate. So if you're going to be at a good spot to tailgate, you're probably going to have some sort of sweet rig. So, for example, on my drive from Pennsylvania, Penn State has a very strong, loyal following, almost kind of like Michigan. Michigan is known, I believe, I would say this, for having, especially in the Midwest, for having kind of like a hyper, like people, for example, I mentioned Ryan. I think I didn't mention his name before. Well, Ryan, who I think I did mention. I think I did because I said I didn't give a shit before. Well, I still give a shit. He's like a super fan, and he never even went there. And although that's something you always say, is like these people are obsessed and they never even went there. No,
that's why I'm grinning right now.
But Penn State's kind of similar, and so I saw a lot of campers, a lot of big pickup trucks with those camper-style trailers. Uh-huh. People were coming in expensive rigs, and they were coming
all out.
They were coming to eat some sausage, grill up some hot dogs, grill up some. Hey, you want some cheese on that, or no cheese? All sorts of cheese, all sorts of beers. There's fancy coolers. Mm-hmm. There is TV setups. And so what people do is they find, there's kind of almost a little prestige in it, once again, especially at Michigan and at Penn State, to get that, and at Michigan State too, because you always do see like in the very front, you will see like these $150,000 G-Wagons with like these full spreads. Mm-hmm. So there is a little bit of prestige to where you get. And then people have these big setups where they have the trailer. And then there's there's essentially the trailer. And then what people do is they just set up a grill, and they have other people over, and they celebrate and just have like a little pre-party before the game. And it's fun. I will say, unfortunately, I didn't get to have like the full tailgating experience where it was out of someone's car with like the grilling. But I have done that one time before, and it was very fun.
It's fun.
Yes, and it's honestly, and once again, the bus was a little filled, which was not ideal. But in theory, this is one of my favorite activities. An endless supply of great drunchies, which we are firm proponents of, and just standing around chit-chatting and drinking all day. That's my that's some of my favorite activities. Not going to a club with loud music, going with moderately sounding music. I sound like my grandmother. Yet still drinking freely. And then also the best thing about it is these things tend to happen earlier in the day. So I'm so you're not doing this all night long. You have some freedom to then do what you will with your night or with the rest of your day, which a lot of times could be sleeping off that disaster you put yourself through.
That's true.
At 11 in the morning. And so I'm gonna send you another picture. And I believe I don't think we're done talking about beer ways to get drunk as quickly as possible. So whenever this picture comes in, take your time. I would like you to explain to our audience whatever you're looking at. This is something I definitely haven't done, but I would love to.
Okay.
And I don't even.
Yeah, I just want to add that.
But I'm also kind of afraid.
Right. So before I describe the picture Jared just sent me, I just want to say that the beauty, I think, of tailgating in general is not only the tasty food and the drinking, but it's just a great way to spend time with your friends. People always, it's hard to be tailgating and not have everybody be in a great mood.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially before the game when nothing's happened yet.
Right.
And I will say, especially as I was saying before, I'm not really a fan of any of these teams. Like I could care less. But it is camaraderie in a team or sport is addicting. Yeah. Like, when I was in the stadium and cheering, it's like, yeah, I could have left that stadium Michigan having lost, and I honestly would have been a little bummed. Yet if I were in Philadelphia just going about my weekend like it was a normal weekend, couldn't have cared less. But because I'm and I'm sitting around all these people drinking beers and wearing my one Michigan shirt, I have one Michigan shirt and one Michigan State shirt. Like that's literally like the bare minimum. At least,
and I think I gave you that Michigan State shirt.
You did. And it's just like the bare minimum, but it's like for some reason when I'm in Ann Arbor, I feel like a Michigan fan. Yet when I'm in East Lansing, I feel like a Michigan State fan. Yeah, and I don't mind. There are people in Michigan that are going to hear that, and I don't care. I didn't go to either of these schools, and I didn't really have a connection to either of them. I grew up all over the place. I'm a world traveler, and I'm proud of it. God damn it! No, my parents did go to grad school in Michigan State though, but I still don't really have a connection to it.
Right, but hey, it's kind of cool. You can be both.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel
and
like
I enjoy all of it.
Right. I feel like I can't. I feel like I'd be betraying all my Spartan brethren.
Can we talk about your, I would say the word is hate for the University of Michigan? Because this hate started before you went to school at Michigan State.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, we can go there. This has nothing to do with... I feel bad because let me set the record straight for our listeners. I absolutely love the city of Ann Arbor. Grew up near there, have spent tons of time there, absolutely love it.
It's a beautiful city filled with interesting food and things to see.
Yes.
I agree with you.
And some great nature, like the Arb. It's like this really cool like nature park. Anyways, though, my animosity for the University of Michigan stems from, I would say really, I wouldn't say necessarily my childhood, but like as I was a teenager, I would go to Ann Arbor a lot with my friends. We'd go to hookah bars and other places and go get pizza or, do whatever. And my experience with a lot of U of M students is they come off as very entitled and very arrogant.
Yeah.
So, it's a great school. There are a lot of really brilliant people that work at U of M and study at U of M. I'm not trying to say they're not. But I think, sadly, the culture that they have at the University of Michigan is a lot of times they think they're better than everybody else.
No, I'm with you.
They are a nationally recognized school. I understand that. At the same time, though, I feel like just because
USA Today ranked Michigan number 4 in the country. Where's whatever Albion, whatever little school you went to?
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I remember being in high school, and it was the summer right before my senior year, I think. And we were eating at Pancheros, which is like a Mexican chain restaurant, somewhere in like South University. And I remember overhearing this tour, and the tour guide literally said something along the lines of, now that you're here, you're among the best, and you're some basically more or less saying
like
that
you joined the Marines or something.
Right. And so after I heard that really turned me off to the university. And then I have another story as well. I'm just gonna put U of M on blast right now.
That's okay, because I think there's some validity to what you're saying, because I have more to add to that too. So
okay,
don't feel like you're putting them on blast.
And I will admit this. I'm obviously biased as well as a Spartan. I bleed green. I love my Spartans.
Once again, this started way before you even knew you'd be going to grad school at Michigan State.
Also true, yes. But speaking of graduate school, I applied to Michigan State and to the University of Michigan, right?
Okay. Once again, you can't deny that Michigan's an amazing school.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic. But here's my problem with the administration at University of Michigan. So I heard back from MSU that I was accepted, which was great. Awesome news. I was still waiting to hear from U of M, waiting. And so I was waiting and didn't hear anything back. And so I went back to their online application portal. It said my application was under review. So it said, if you have questions, contact so-and-so. So I contacted so-and-so. And this was when I was applying for PhD programs for German studies. And I got a response from the associate director of the German department at the University of Michigan saying something along the lines of, oh, wait, hold up. I might even be able to pull up the email here.
Oh, man.
I'm pretty sure I saved it because I was just like, this is unreal.
While you're looking for that, I can tell you what I understand where this arrogance comes from. Because I remember when I was in high school, there was a lot of arrogance from the other students that had either decided that they were going to go or wanted to go or had already got in or something. And it was just like this, it was so clear that people joked about it in our high school. That there was definitely something that turned me off from it at a young age too, where it's I feel like I almost, which is not the case. And honestly, let me also put out this disclaimer. If I had applied, there's probably a good chance I wouldn't have gotten in there anyway. I'm pretty stupid. However, there was sort of this thing where it was almost not that I wanted to prove anything to anyone, but I was like I can get a good education somewhere else. It's like, why people make it seem like Michigan is the greatest thing to happen to the state of Michigan. The University of Michigan is the greatest thing to happen to the state. It's like, oh, you can't. It's like, oh, I'm going to get a good education because I'm going to Michigan, and it's because I got this blah 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 blah. And it's like, and also it helps that I was. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if I buy into all of that. And once again, and this is coming from someone that recognizes that it's a good school, and I recognize that people could easily be like, well, that's easy for you to say because you probably couldn't even get in. But this is more coming from someone that thoroughly believes you can get colleges just as useful, can be just as useful. I believe that the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The prestige, that's what I'm looking for, of a school. Mm-hmm. is useful, but I don't think it goes as far as people thinks it does. I think more a degree and how you interview is more. And once again, it also depends on, I guess, what you're looking for. But especially in a lot of businessy kind of roles and a lot of more your standard, not your standard, less academic jobs, but more standard in an office, interfacing with people kind of job like that. I think that how you carry yourself. Obviously, you need a degree. I'm not saying you don't need a lot of these positions. If they say you need a degree, it's because you need it. But I don't think they're as obsessed with seeing I went to the top 5 schools off of the 2017 blah, blah, blah list. I don't think that they really look that much into that. I mean, maybe they might see and be like, oh, cool. But they won't be like, oh, well, we got to really, this guy's already got a little leg up. Even I think, at least from what I've seen, I think interviewing matters way more than what school you went to.
I think also, too, the connections you have as well.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah,
that's key.
That's a great point.
Okay, so good news. I knew I still had it. I found the email. Yes. So I will read my email and then I will read the response. So I sent this to the German graduate program at the University of Michigan. And I said, hello, I am wondering when I will hear back from the department regarding my application for the PhD program. I have already been accepted to one of the schools I applied to and would like to know roughly when I will hear back from U of M so I can make a decision.
You're a little power move right there.
Well, it was true. I was already accepted by
that's
MSU.
Fair. You don't want to leave those other people waiting too long.
Right. And then I have not gotten any emails regarding the account and checking the status of my application. Thank you for your time, Chad. right? And then
Very
this
polite.
is the right. I was trying to be polite. This is the response I get. Hi, Jen. Yes, please send out letters to everyone we did not admit. Thank you.
So
Should
she
I say
just
their
totally.
name? I won't say their name.
No, don't say her name. So she just totally. It was just totally.
It
totally
wasn't a she, it was
misemailed.
a he. But yeah, it's
excuse
the
me.
associate. It's
He
like
just totally
this,
misemailed something
Yep.
later.
Yep, and
That's
he's,
like the peak level. At first, I thought it was going to be some sort of terrible response, but he just emailed the wrong person.
So how do you be such a prestigious university and can't send the right email to somebody? Like, I'm
I
sorry,
know.
but like,
Also,
if you're
I
the
triple-check
associate
that stuff
chair
at work.
or something like that, right? If you're like that high up in the department, I would feel like you would know your way around an email. Anyways, I digress.
Especially when you're dealing with potential students. Like, who knows what kind of stuff he could have sent you to a potential student. That that was, even though it was stupid, it was harmless overall. But who knows what kind of like serious stuff he could have quote unquote accidentally sent.
Right. So here we go. So here's my response. So I said, hi, so and so. I received this email. I should have said that. I received this email, but I don't think I was supposed to receive it. I was inquiring about my application for graduate school at U of
Chad's
M.
very polite. Good guy, Chad.
And I
right there.
think you sent this to the wrong person. Take care, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Chad. I am so sorry. I meant to send this email to our secretary. No shit. As you can see from the content of the email, you are not among the students to whom we extended offers.
Yeah, that's rough.
I'm glad to hear that one of the schools you applied to has already accepted you.
all right. Hey.
I wish you good luck for your graduate studies and your academic career. Thank you for applying to our program. Yeah, I mean, it was nice, but I'm still a little salty about it.
No, that kind of made me want to slap that dude in the face. Where it's like
it's
like
crazy.
this is how you run your this once again this prestigious program.
Right.
And then I hate that level of incompetence. It's so simple.
And then this was March 13th, 2014 when I got these emails, right?
I feel like we're on Judge Judy right now.
And I didn't get my actual like letter saying I wasn't accepted until fucking April.
Yeah, that's aggressive.
It's awful.
That's aggressive.
It's
for
awful.
Sure.
I mean, people are trying to plan their lives around your graduate program, and you don't have the courtesy to send them a letter before April.
And that's the thing. There is that sort of thing with these schools that are so prestigious and big, which, to be fair, Michigan State, granted, it doesn't have that same sort of prestige, and I have quotes up for everyone, as U of M does, but it still is a very great and prestigious school nationwide. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they do have that. It is sort of that almost like that person in school that thinks they're too cool for you, where it's like we have sort of this luxury of or not even luxury, but we're too aware of how cool we are. That's what it is. To where we're unnecessarily sloppy, and it's just out of a place of I don't really have to pay attention because one, it's someone that's not coming here, and two, it's not like we're at a shortage for applicants for any of these spots. So it's not like I have to try to make sure I put on the best. It's almost like how people in America always make fun of Comcast or AT&T or whatever the cable provider is, Time Warner. And it's because it's like, where else are you going to go? You got like one other option that's just as terrible as us.
Exactly.
Where it's like, granted, theirs is not terrible. Theirs is great, but it's like you want to go here because we're one of the best schools in the country. It's like, what I don't like. You're either in or you're not. So,
right.
You're welcome.
Right. Anyways, this episode is not shit on U of M. It is on the road again, Ann Arbor. U of M just happens to also be in Ann Arbor.
Yes, and a very big part of it because can I give you some we did do a lot of shitting, and I do enjoy shitting upon, but let me give you some accolades that Ann Arbor has gotten, because Ann Arbor is a great little spot. I even got to zoom in because there's so many.
Nice.
According to Forbes magazine, 2010, Ann Arbor was ranked number 1 top college towns.
I believe it.
According to The Atlantic in 2012, it was voted number 2 as the most e-space literate cities in America. I'm not sure what that means, but I feel like it has to do with reading online.
Yeah, I think it's computer literacy maybe.
So it's like most articles in like news is read like probably per capita in Ann Arbor, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I remember the Ann Arbor newspaper. I think they had stopped. They used to do, I don't know if it was just on the weekends, like a Sunday paper, but then they did eventually move it all online, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, if I can just be clear, the most illiterate
Thank God for Google, right?
Atlantic. Yeah. So most literate, not most literate. Space literate. You're the one that made up the thing.
Is it a capital E?
Oh, it changed. It auto changed it to illiterate, as in cannot. Did I just hit my soundboard accidentally?
Nope, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
I think I might have hit one that requires me to hold it down. So,
well, while you're looking, I also want to mention. I mean, the cool thing about Ann Arbor as well is there's just a lot of really awesome people there. Like, there's a really good music scene. The Blind Pig is this really awesome bar. I've actually played there before with my band back in high school. Cool. Nirvana has played there. Mac Miller has played there. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of really amazing musicians to come and play in Ann Arbor. The Arc is also like a really cool area where they play like a lot of more like folk and jazz music. Mm-hmm. I saw one of the guys who opened up for Woodstock named Richie Havens there a few years back.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him. I'm not familiar, but I've heard of him.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, Ann Arbor, there's a lot of culture.
So I can explain illiterate.
Perfect.
There is a lot of culture, and I've actually seen a couple concerts there as well, hip-hop, so not as fancy as yours. But recently a new form of reading elitism has come about. Oh, geez. I wish I would have read this before, but I was actually interested in what you were saying. To identify the most electronically literate.
Yeah.
So through that's based off of like Kindles and e-readers and Amazon books and stuff like that. Okay. So it's essentially just saying it's a very educated and kind of technology based. I think I also didn't realize sort of how like one it's also, this is not on the list, but it's also a very green city. Like they take that stuff very seriously, and there's a lot they take recycling and a lot of restaurants and stores, especially kind of more local ones, brag about that sort of stuff. Like they have a very nice thrift store, which I always find to be actually a couple, to be honest with you.
They do.
That I always find cities like that always have great thrift stores. Like I bet you Asheville would have had a couple great thrift stores. I didn't check, but I bet you they would.
Oh, I'm sure they.
In 2012, according to the Daily Beast, it was ranked happiest cities in America, number 5 happiest cities in America. Also in 2012, according to the Daily Beast, most creative cities. According to Travel and Leisure in 2012, it was rated number 10 for the greatest main street in America. Do you think you could agree with that? Do you think that's a fair rating? Greatest main street. I mean, granted, that's a dumb question. Like you've been to all the main streets that they surveyed.
and honestly, I probably took Main Street for granted.
Right, because do you try to avoid the hullabaloo?
No, I mean, I like Main Street. There's some cool places right off of Main Street. I really like. There's quite a few restaurants there. I'm pretty sure the Arc is on Main Street or very close to it. I mean, I don't know, man. It depends on how are they rating this? Are they rating it based on the stores and stuff? Or are they rating it based on the aesthetics of it?
This is too much information. I'm already looking at a picture, a very nice picture, that just has different little blurbs of rankings that they've had in the past couple of years. So I don't have that much information.
Okay, I'm not sure. I mean, it's a really cool Main Street. I don't know if I would say it's I probably haven't paid attention to main streets enough to tell you what the best one is.
How is Kumatov's Main Street?
It's not bad. There are some restaurants there.
Royal Oak has a good main street. Because obviously Kumatov isn't fair. I'm cutting you off. Also because it's not really fair because they're talking about America. But Royal Oak, which I have lived in, which is another sort of hoppin' city, and which is in Metro Detroit. That's kind of the hopping city of Metro Detroit. That's smaller, way smaller than Ann Arbor. But it's kind of a trendy city for young people. It's not a college town either. There's like a community college within the city, but I don't think that makes anything a college town. No offense to our people hustling out there in community college. Right. But anyway, I think they have a great Main Street, but it's smaller. Did I say... Amazon, according to Amazon, which also would make sense based on the e-literature, Amazon ranked them in 2011 the number 4 most well-read cities in America. Okay. Another thing I like about Ann Arbor, which I would have taken advantage of if I had more time, which I have in the past, it's another great city to stumble into bookstores and buy a book for like 30 cents that'll blow your mind.
Absolutely.
I love cities like that where it's got like the best tiny bookstores with just random stuff on walls. Usually when I'm on vacation, this time's a little different because I drove, but actually last time I visited my sister in D.C. and I flew, it was nice to just buy a book for like $1.50 while I was wandering around her city one day and be like, I'll just read this on the flight back and fall in love with the book that I Rule of the Bone. That's one of the books that I found. It's kind of like a more modernized Catcher in the Rye almost.
That's awesome.
Number one, and Forbes rated it the number one best college sports town in 2010.
I'd believe that.
A lot of people would not like that, but every hardcore fan's gonna want to say their own little shitty college town.
That's true. Ann Arbor is also though a fairly large city. I mean, they have a decent sized population.
That is true.
A lot of people.
That is true.
So that makes a difference. Also, too, this probably isn't on the list, but there's an awesome record store in Ann Arbor as well.
It's not on the list, but I bet you my sister and her husband know about it because they're record connoisseurs. They're always playing records, so I bet you they know about it.
Yeah, so there's a really cool record store. Oh, I don't remember what street it's on anymore, but yeah, it's awesome. So if any of our listeners ever end up in Ann Arbor, there's a lot of cool things to do. That's for sure.
I feel like there's so much more we could talk about, and I also feel like I've been all over the place.
I mean, we both have, but that's also tailgating is in its essence, right? It's kind of being all over the place.
There is one more thing not one more thing, but there is something I did want to bring up that I found very, very kind of fascinating almost. Is so my sister, she's in grad school, so she's back in school, grad school, and it's interesting seeing. I mean, this is her first semester, and it started in the end of August, mid-August, I would assume, and it is interesting seeing, especially because I went to the football game. There was something. This is where I thought of this. I went to the football game, and we were essentially. My sister was going around asking friends and people she knew if they were not going to the game, if they had spare tickets. Because also I was in the student section, which means you need a student ID to get in. So they don't really check the student IDs that closely. So all we were looking for was just a black person that wasn't going to the game that was friends with my sister or her husband. And which we did find tickets for all of us and IDs, because only my sister's a student, so she had an ID. But none of us had tickets, and the husband and me needed IDs, which we did do. And we found the final ID 5 minutes after the game started. It was actually very impressive, which is good. So I can kneel for the anthem in private.
That's good.
But although I did see this flyover because I was right by the stadium. But anyway, so we got into the game, and that was all well and good. But one thing I noticed at this tailgate, and while my sister was looking for tickets, is I was shocked. Not shocked, but it was interesting to see how many people she knew and how many people she was like buddies with, and how many people she was at least knew well enough to ask them if she could just take their ID or if they had a ticket that she could buy for them. And it almost made me kind of like miss school a little bit, because I was like, oh, that's like that school kind of way of meeting people where it's like you're almost some sort of fucking freak if you can't make friends while you're in school because you're surrounded by people. Mm-hmm. And I miss that as someone that like lives in a city, and I kind of just moved there as a working person, where it's like, oh, it is kind of fun to have all these new friends all of a sudden, and almost you can't help but make friends just because you're surrounded by all these people. And being in a grad school setting, there are a lot of situations where you're in group settings, and she lives close to people. So it was very interesting to see, and it was almost a little foreign to me, having been out of school for so long, to the point where I'm almost like, when I saw her go around asking for IDs or tickets, I'm almost like, in my head, I was like, how well do you know these people? Like, you've been here for like 2.5 months. And I was like, I mean, clearly this is not your first time doing this or anything. And it's not like, I didn't think she was being rude, but I was just like, wow, it's so crazy. And it also makes me then, obviously, because I'm selfish, think about myself and just how god awful I am at meeting people. But also I'm not in that sort of environment where you're just surrounded by people your age that are looking to meet new people and learn the same thing and are doing the same thing. And so I felt jealous in that way until this morning when her and I were sitting at the table this morning, and she was showing me some of her homework, asked me if I would understand it, because I did major in economics in in college, and I understood what she was studying, but I was like, yeah, I mean, this is out of my pay grade. And so seeing her, and she was telling me about her day. She's busy today from, meetings essentially back to back. I'm sure there's some spaces in between. From 10 a.m., she left around 9:45 to about 10 p.m. And so between looking at her homework and hearing about her being busy on a Sunday for essentially 12 hours, I was like, yeah, then that also makes me want to, friends aren't that great. I'm doing fine alone.
Right.
But I do struggle to wonder about grad school because I know so many people around me that have done it, and as you have done it, my sister, other friends, and you can't deny the benefit of having that extra degree. But one, it's hard to justify with the financial investment, and two, it's hard to justify with the sort of time investment. Especially me, if I do it, I assume I'd still have to work on some level. So I'd be working, and maybe I wouldn't. I just don't know. It's hard for me to justify that, especially if hasn't really come up as a hindrance yet in my career.
Right.
But that's the thing is you're investing in your future, because what if it comes up as a potential, like I get a couple promotions and then it comes up years from now, oh, you could do this job, but there's this other guy that's equally qualified but also has an MBA or has a CPA, and it's like, well, now it's even harder for me to justify to go back to get the degree when I have kids and even more debt and more stuff going on. So I don't know. I wonder about that because I see people progressing around me, but I'm also, there's this weird thing where I see people progressing intellectually, but I'm also like, yeah, but I'm also making more money than all these people in grad school because I have a normal job and I have a normal, sort of normal salary. But it also looks like fun.
I mean, I'll tell you, grad school is a great time. I mean,
I love visiting you.
Hard times, but it was a lot of fun for sure.
I had a great time visiting you, and I met a lot of great people just when I would come and play soccer with you on Fridays and Saturdays.
Those were the days, man.
Yeah.
Those were the days for sure.
But what was yours like? Sorry, one more grad school question. What was yours like as far as like workload goes? Because the workload that I hear about from these MBA people, Masters in Business and Association, which is all I'm hearing about because that's what my sister does, seems ridiculous. It's like, wait, you guys aren't becoming doctors here. Like, what is it like for education?
Well, I think
more
there's
writing, probably.
I think there's like a kind of this weird culture in grad school where like I think most grad students want to always give off the notion that they're always studying, they're always working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I don't know, my typical day in graduate school was I'd get up at 8 or 9, go teach 1 or 2 German lessons, which is how I got funding. My first master's degree as a master's in German studies, and so then I'd usually have a break in between, which is then I'd usually reread the reading material for my class later that afternoon, and all the lectures I had usually lectures three times a week, and they'd be a 3-hour lecture because we only met once a week, so it'd be like 3 to 6. I think like 3 to 5:50 technically, or something like that.
Do you think your Oh, sorry, your day's still going?
Well, then after that, usually then I'd get some dinner, and then I would either grade or work on my lesson plans or do more homework.
Right. I think that's also a slight difference between what you're doing and say what my sister's doing, which is business. So a lot of yours. A lot of your process of getting a master's is more, I'd say, probably hands-on than hers is. Hers is probably more actual classwork, while yours is more, it seems like they grade a lot of what you do also through actually watching you do it, through TAing and stuff and teaching. Is that wrong? I mean, you still have classwork, I'm sure.
Right. Well, definitely. It's not wrong. I think the difference is usually people are TAs if they want to become a teacher, which was my goal. But also, it's a way to get funding, right? So I do know a few people in my other master's program, in my TESOL program, that didn't have any type of TA-ship or funding, so they just studied and did homework. And to be honest with you, I'm really glad that I had a TA-ship, and then I also had for my TESOL master's, I had a graduate assistantship with the Center for Language Teaching Advancement at Michigan State. And so for there, I did a couple different things. I would help out with a couple different research grants. I also worked in like a language computer lab, which is a specialized computer lab for students learning foreign languages. We would give different proficiency tests and things like that. And I have to say, I really liked having those other types of graduate student jobs because I then had to really be on top of things in terms of when I would do my homework. Because otherwise, I think if I only would have studied and didn't have a job, I already procrastinated a little bit as it was. It probably would have been much worse if I wouldn't have had a job. So yeah.
Okay.
We should do an episode about grad school. I think that'd be a really helpful thing for some of our listeners out there.
For me, I think I have a lot of questions, and you're obviously.
Let's do it.
Do you ever consider? I mean, this is a question people will hear again because I will ask you again when we do an episode about grad school. Do you ever consider going back for another degree?
I'll just say we'll leave it at that. We'll leave you and our listeners on their toes.
Join in for a future episode about grad schools where Chad spills the beans.
That's right.
What's next?
That's right. But today, Jared is on the road again in Ann Arbor, and I think we've touched. I just love that Willie Nelson sound drop. It's so great. Even though this wasn't a place where you have never been, you and I both have spent a lot of time in Ann Arbor.
I had to choose a one of the verses to put in there, and I like that one the most.
It's a great verse. I mean, all of it's great.
And I will say this, even though I have been here plenty of times, there is something too, especially as I said, because of this podcast, kind of opening my eyes in a different way and just really taking it in, soaking it in. So I'd say, even though I have been there, and I did. Oh, dude, I'm sorry, we can't go on yet. There's one thing I totally forgot to bring up that I did for the first time. So so I got there Friday night. All right. So here's the deal. I'm gonna whisper this because I think someone's home, but this is this is so bad. So anyway, I went out and I did a fun activity, which I'll tell you about in a second, with a group of people, they're in a band together, and my sister's husband Jeff is in this band.
Okay.
And I asked later what kind of band it was, and I found out it's a cover band.
Nice.
And it took everything in my power not to laugh. I mean, it's fine, do your thing. But I'm now terrified that I don't think they listen, but that they are listening. If someone's like right outside the door, but I just found that funny. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's my problem.
So what'd
but
you
I
do,
feel
though?
like I'd have a little shame. Anyway, what I do? Cover bands are great. Hey, enjoy yourself, live life. What we did was we did one of those cart bar thingies where you cart around the city and drink beer. One of those.
What? Really? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Can I explain it for our listeners, though? Because
Please, and I can't believe I didn't think to take a picture as I'd sit here. But please.
So it's like this. It's literally a bar on wheels, and you have to pedal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pedal, and there's usually somebody at the front of it that is responsible for everybody.
It's only steering.
Right. And I'm assuming he's not drinking or she's not drinking, I would imagine.
No, and he got offered beer, and he said no, he can't. And I'm sure he gets offered beer all the time.
I'm sure, yeah.
But yeah, so in one,
did you like it?
Let me tell you about it. So here's a few things. One, it is a bar that's essentially a giant cart that you bicycle around on, and common question that is always the first thing that's answered is yes, you definitely have to pedal. There's no way to fake the funk. It kind of made me think of when I played soccer, and there would always be that one, like when you have to move the goal, and there would always be that one person standing there, then as we're walking, just drops their hands, like, I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just pretending to make it look like I am. You can't really do that with this because everyone, like, if someone's faking it, then you're just dead weight at that point. And there already are people on there that are dead weight because not every seat has pedals.
Oh, gotcha.
So, there is kind of because of the way it's geared, there is kind of it tops out pretty low. Like, you can't go that fast unless you're going like down a hill or something. And it's fun. It's kind of chilly, but it's fun. You just bike around. And there are bars that we make stops at. But because it was a big game night and like the city was hopping, we spent most of our time when we were at different stops just essentially using it as an excuse to drink on the street. Because we were just sitting in the cart drinking beers outside, kind of watching and talking, and it was kind of nice. So we didn't really go into the beer, which is part of the tour usually is you make stops in bars and usually get a drink in other bars. But we had enough beer, and we were like, well, let's just sit here instead of waiting and going into crowded bars and waiting in lines. We paid for this thing for 2 hours. Let's use it. We got beer. Let's sit here and.
Of course.
That's awesome. That was a lot of fun. And so I started off not biking, and then I later did pedal. And I don't know what this is about me, but I started not pedaling and watching how fast we were going and not even having done it before, let me clarify. There was a little part of me that's like, bet this would be going faster if I was one of the people pedaling.
Right. That's funny.
And I think it might have been once I pedaled, but it definitely, I give people props because I was kind of a little ballsy and being like, oh, I got this. It was pretty tough.
Nice. That's awesome. I've always wanted to try one of those. So
it
the
was fun,
gimmick
though.
is worth it.
Yeah, although I will say this. Yes, it is worth it. I'd recommend you maybe do it on a less cold night. I just also wasn't well prepared. Oh, another thing I noticed is that I somehow managed to both overpack and underprepare. I didn't think to bring like a good jacket. Like I brought a lot of good sweaters, but I need one more layer on top of that. I did not plan that far ahead. Luckily, I guess I'd call him brother-in-law now. That's the first time I've ever said that. I guess I'd give him a shout out for hooking me up with the jacket. So that was no big deal since I had that. But I somehow managed to fill my bag to the brim for a weekend and not have most of what I needed to just walk around. But yeah, sorry, I could not go on without mentioning that.
You're good.
And I also think that. Oh, what I wanted to say about that biking thing was one. I have to imagine that's a uniquely American thing. Do they have that abroad? Maybe they do.
I've never seen it abroad.
But I did feel bad for the traffic because we're obviously on the street, and if you look back, like I did have to just stop myself from looking back because I felt so bad to sometimes look back and just see like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars lined up behind you as we're drinking beers and barely pedaling up this hill.
Right. That's fair.
And I was like, oh, God, I feel terrible. These people are just trying to go somewhere. And we're drunkenly singing Sweet Caroline and biking up in the slow-ass cart.
That's awesome. Nice. Well, Jared, I would like to give our listeners a little recap of what we've talked about because, as we've both said, we have been all over the place.
Yeah.
But
I didn't realize I'd even have this much to talk about. But there's so much more, but I'm going to stop myself.
Right. I do want to add a couple other things that I think many foreigners have probably heard about. Beer pong and flip cup are very, very popular drinking games during tailgating.
My sister was trying to play beer pong. You know what? Can I make a proposal?
Sure.
Because you've just brought up, opened a whole new can of worms. We could skip the untranslatables and just keep talking Ann Arbor and do these untranslatables next episode.
All right, I want to share one or two of them.
Okay, we can do that. We can do that.
But let me, So beer pong is a big thing, and for those of you who don't know what that is, you set up a triangle. I believe it's what, like 9 cups, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Whatever you do to make a proper pyramid with the base being
10.
5.
I think it's 10. Is it 5? I thought the base was 4.
Maybe it's 4. I don't know.
Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1,
I don't
2,
know
3
what regulation
7.
is.
I think it's 10. But I could be
1,
wrong.
2, 3, 4. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If
Yeah,
it's a
it's
base
10.
of 4, then it would be 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Which
so,
I think it probably is a base of 4. You're probably right.
And so you just have a ping pong ball. The hygienic way to play beer pong is you just fill the cups with water and you sip
They
your
weren't
own
playing
beer.
that way at the bus yesterday. It fucking grossed
gross.
me out.
That's nasty.
They poured beer
unhygienic
into them,
way,
but
exactly,
it was
as you
still,
pour beer into them and you got to drink the beer. Bad idea.
What we recommend here at the Untranslatable Podcast is just have some sort of semblance of hygiene and just use water in the cups, and then whenever the ball goes in, move your cup and take a sip or chug of your beer real quick.
Right.
And that is essentially doing the same thing.
Exactly. And the other game I mentioned was Flip Cup, where you have your plastic red Solo cup at the edge of the well, first of all the cups have a little bit of beer or some type of alcohol. You drink it really quick, then you flip your cup upside down. So
that one's a little tougher though. That one you kind of need to use the cup to drink out of.
Yeah, which I think is fine.
But if they're fresh cups, then that's okay. The thing about the beer pong is you're throwing ping pong balls that have been on the ground in people's hands. And then those go into cups that you're drinking out of. So, yeah, that's fair, yeah.
Right. So, I'd say flip cup is probably a little more sanitary if the cups are new and the table isn't all gross.
Right, which it always is, by the way.
Right. Oh, for sure. But anyway, so you drink your drink, you put your cup upside down, and then you try to flip it and land it right side up. And the team to do that all the way down the line, usually it's like 3, 4, 5 people, wins. So, those are really popular tailgating drinking games. To all of our American listeners out there, the next time you go tailgating, have fun, but also please be safe. You don't want to be like that guy Jared mentioned who shotgunned a beer and then puked it back up like a minute later.
That is another thing that I kind of, I'm not gonna say I missed, but it did once again. The theme of this episode so far is nostalgia. Seeing people just drink recklessly underage with their friends did kind of make me a little nostalgic.
People go ham on game
because,
day.
dude,
It's something
on
else.
Saturday I was in bed by like 10:30.
Oh yeah, I've had morning games before where I've literally gone to bed at like 6, woken up at like 8 or 9, and been like, you know what? I'm gonna like watch a movie and then go right back to bed.
That's exactly what my sister said when the bouncer mentioned the cover. My sister's like, let's just go back and make margaritas and watch a movie.
Yep.
That's what we did, and we watched Fargo, which was great as always.
Nice. That's an awesome movie. So yeah. So that's I would say a decent recap of tailgating. There's basically it's a big celebration. Almost always outdoors. People have their cars. Absolutely.
Sorry, I thought that was a great recap. Can I mention some things I wish I would have gone to that I missed out on?
Absolutely.
That I thought I'd have more time for. So I already mentioned Fleetwood Diner, and I was considering it, but the line was pretty long before the pod. Because obviously it's a Sunday morning. What was I expecting? It's great. Another great drunchy. I mean, ultimate drunchy is a big thing, and it's open 24 hours, which is popular for diners. And so great drunchy at any time of the day. Zingerman's. I wanted to go to Zingerman's and get a sandwich.
Oh, Zingerman's is delicious.
Zingerman's is a staple in Ann Arbor, and they're a bakery / sandwich shop / restaurant / coffee shop / I mean, they do everything.
Yeah, and it's really good food.
Yeah, because I think they're also a brewery. Do they make their own beer at that restaurant?
I have no idea.
Okay, I've only been to that restaurant once, but for some reason I remember having some specially good beer there. But I'm more of a fan of the sandwich place anyway. That's the place I really wanted to go to. Do you have any places that you really love to hit when you're there? And that, like, say, now that you're away, like, oh, when I go back, and I'm going to make sure I hit up this place.
Yeah, I was hoping to give, a version of Chad's Ann Arbor tips. So here are Chad's Ann Arbor tips for all of our listeners out there.
On the road again.
If you're on the road again.
I'm obsessed with this.
Number one, so Jared mentioned Zingerman's. I actually have a different favorite sandwich shop in Ann Arbor.
I mean, I'm the tourist. That might have been the tourist answer.
That's true. I would check out Izzy's Hoagie Shop.
I think I've been there as well.
Izzy's
before.
is amazing.
Maybe I will
really
go
great
there.
Philly cheesesteaks. They might be closed on Sundays, unfortunately.
But could I get a sandwich tomorrow? Are they open in the mornings, and I can get one for my drive?
I think so. I think they are. So
Maybe
yeah,
I'll do
Izzy's
that.
is one of my favorite places. Also, we talked about the Grizzly Peak. That is by far one of my favorite restaurants.
Oh, by the way,
in Ann Arbor.
I'm sorry, I hate doing this, but I did text Guardo while we were recording to just say, hey, you guys want to go to the Grizzly Peak? And his response is, what the fuck is that?
Oh, Guardo, that's a thumbs down right there.
And all I wanted to be like was, I mean, you could just Google it, but okay. Anyway, Go ahead. Sorry. The Grizzly Peak, yes.
So the Grizzly Peak, if you are a nature lover, I would tell you to check out the Arb in Ann Arbor. It's like kind of like a park. It's just really beautiful. A lot of greenery there. Really gorgeous. So check that out. And then if you are trying to get your drink on, there's a lot of good places. Number one, as you know, Jared, and as our listeners will come to know, is that I love all things German beer, German food, whatever. And the Heidelberg is a great place for a lot of
beer.
Authentic German beer,
But not for food.
It's okay. I would
Don't
say
go there looking
Metzger's-
for German food and feeling like you got that experience.
Right. I would say Metzger's is more authentic and higher quality food. If you want German food in Ann Arbor, that's a little bit further on the outskirts.
Yeah, you have to drive there.
Yeah. And then my other tip for all of you visitors in Ann Arbor would be check out either the Blind Pig because they have a lot of great concerts there. There are also usually a lot of great concerts thrown by different, like the Department of Music at the University of Michigan. I've seen some amazing jazz concerts in Ann Arbor as well. The other thing that I would also highly suggest while you're in Ann Arbor is to go to Good Time Charlie's. Have you ever been there before, Jared?
I don't think so.
So if you also are trying to get your drink on, if you like sweeter drinks, I'm not a huge sweet drink guy, but if you like sweeter drinks.
Is it on that row where Blue Leprechaun is?
Yep.
Okay,
It's on South U. And check out South U for going to bars.
By the way,
Check
speaking
out
of which,
Good Time Charlie's. Yeah.
did you know World of Beers is gone?
Oh yeah, it's been gone for a couple of years now.
I mean, I haven't been here in a couple of years, but I did mention to my sister that I like World of Beers, and she's like, "What?" She's like, yeah, I'm not familiar with that place. And
it's not there anymore.
Then we biked by it, and I was like, oh, that's why you're not familiar with it.
Yeah,
it's now a poutineery or whatever.
And that
garbage.
place is amazing. I would actually say go check out the poutineery as well.
Well, as we mentioned in our previous Drunchy episode, is when I'm going for Drunchies, I don't want a lot of sauce all over my French fries. I don't like hand foods with a lot of sauce during Drunchy time because it's already going to be a mess.
Right, that's fair. I don't blame you. But those are Chad's tips for Ann Arbor, so check those places out. And you are welcome to message us at Untranslatable Podcast on Facebook, Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram, or tweet at us. Jared will probably be the one responding to that, Untranslatable1, or shoot us an email. If you want any other insider tips about Ann Arbor, please let us know. We would be happy to help you.
I think I can give a surprisingly good amount of recommendations, and if I can't, I have friends that have lived here their entire life that are more than happy to not shut up about recommendations. So
right
there you go.
So get at us, people. Well, Jared, do you happen to know what time it is? We've been recording for quite a while.
My fancy untranslatable Rolex made just for us. Oh, right on time. I think that's the unmistakable cuckoo of the untranslatable owl.
Yes,
you got some good ones that are very tailgate /
I do. I'm going to start you off with a German one. You probably know this one, but it's a good one anyways.
Okay.
And it is blau sein, or to be blue.
It's either to be hammered or to have a hangover?
Pretty sure it's to be hammered, yeah.
What is hangover? Hangover's got an interesting word for it too.
Ich habe einen Kater. I have a male cat.
Okay. Yeah, see, as I said, interesting. Okay, but that's before the kata. That's the process of
right.
That's how the kata comes on, is from being blau.
You could say man ist blau und dann hat man einen Kater.
Okay. That's I definitely saw a lot of that. Oh, we forgot to explain the picture. Speaking of blau sein, we forgot to explain the picture. One more drinking technique. There's plenty of ways to get hammered, and we forgot one.
And I've actually never tried this, but Jared sent
I haven't
picture
either.
Of a keg stand, which is where two people hold up your each leg, and you stand upside down on a keg, and you basically chug.
Just stick the tap of the keg into your mouth.
Yep.
And apparently what it is, because I asked what's the point of being upside down, they claim it goes to your head faster. Maybe that's just some old wives' tale. But it'll definitely, regardless of whether you're upside down or not, it'll definitely macht dir blau.
That's true.
Is that how you'd say it? It makes you blue?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, what other ones do you have? Because, let's see, because one, as I said, I have to hang out with my friends. And I don't have any ones that are really apropos. Oh, so I do. I do have one.
Go for it.
It's funny. So you talked about this was not planned, which I could have just said it was, but I don't know why I had to do that. So you talked about blau sein, and in Panama they say tener goma, which is the little
you have goma wherever that is.
Glue.
And
so it's not to be hammered. It's not to be hammered, but it's kater. So it's after
it's a hangover. Okay.
Yes. So that's the next. That's actually, I would say, the next day. But really, if you're starting to tailgate at 6 a.m, your hangover, you probably have glue around like 7 p.m.
Yep, you do. I am living proof that is exactly what happens, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Anyways, my last untranslatable for you, Jared, is Czech. I had to have a Czech one.
Of course.
It is mit špičku, which means to have a tip.
By the way, I'm going to bring it up every time, but I'm still shocked that you have more of these to bring to me.
Every week, buddy, I'm going to be bringing them.
To have a tip?
Yep, to have a tip.
Is it to like rat someone out or to snitch?
Nope.
To
think of the word tip.
Not like the tip as in money?
Nope.
Tip as in like the tip of your finger? Or
nope.
Okay, just give it to me then, because clearly I'm not on the right track.
It's an old-fashioned Czech phrase that means to be tipsy.
Oh. Say what's the English translation again?
To have a tip.
Oh, okay. All right.
To be tipsy.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense as far as, I don't know what tipsy means, but tipsy, is tipsy like tipsy-turvy? Where it's maybe, like, ooh, a little shaky maybe. Here.
Could be. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Could be.
Well, I think that's I'll say this. We've had a great talk here about tailgating and about all the aspects of tailgating. I don't care how fancy your camper is. I don't care how good your setup is. I don't care if you have the best hot dogs. Your tailgate is not gonna be good if you do not have good music.
Good point.
And I think that if you're looking for a way to really bring the party, bring the funk, all you need to do is turn on the go to YouTube. First of all, is what you should do, and open up the Untranslatable Podcast YouTube channel and go to our playlist of songs of the pod, and just really go through that, and you'll have the greatest party ever. Whether it's bar mitzvah, whether it's tailgate, whether it's church function, whether it's family reunion, there's songs for everyone. Everyone will love it. Make sure you,
especially if you're on the road again.
And that list is just continuing to get longer and longer with songs like today's song, which is "It Runs Through Me" by British guitarist, singer, producer Tom Misch. And this song also features, I chose it because, one, I know Chad is a huge guitar fan, so he'd automatically appreciate that aspect of it. And Tom Misch is clearly been sort of raised within the blues, like that's clearly his influence. And so I knew Chad would love all of that aspect of it. And then also for me, because once again I'm selfish, it's featuring De La Soul, which is one of my favorite rap groups and legendary rap group. And I'm always, are you listening to it right now?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know if you were just bobbing your head or actually listening to it.
I always listen to these when we do the Song of the Pod segment, just to make sure I don't miss it. Make sure I don't miss anything.
Yeah. Well, so it's just a good song. It's once again, it's just he sings, so he's just sings this very nice song, and he plays this blues guitar. And then what you're listening to it now, you actually might know better than me. What would you say about the song? What's the message? What is he talking about? What do you like about it?
I mean, to me, it just seems like how music just, it's like the title, it just runs through you. It just...
Yeah, that's the thing where it's like, I almost hate to say that I'm not picking up on some sort of great message, but the great thing about it is you don't need a great message to also recognize a great musician, and to tell when it's when someone's into it and when they're and that's one thing I love about live music too, is actually seeing it's like, oh, this person, you can almost kind of tell when the person like say when their eyes are closed, especially where it's like this musician is not even thinking about this giant group of people in front of them. They're just into their song. Mm-hmm. And this is not about them anymore. This is just about, this song's just running through me, and I got to get it out.
Right. Yeah, it's an amazing song. I've never heard of this artist before, so
check him out, man.
Jared.
You'll probably like some of his other stuff too.
Oh, I'm sure. I do want to mention my favorite part of the song, though, which is in the pre-chorus. He says, "She told me at a bass line, and everything will be all right." And what is so clever is, as he says that, the bass line kicks in.
Oh yes,
which is awesome.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good catch.
Mm-hmm.
Good eye.
That caught my attention actually the first listen around, because I was like, I'm like, where's the bass line? Like, this is so kind of jazzy and funky. Like, where's the bass line? And you said, she told me to add a bass line. It just kicks right in. So yeah, it's an awesome
you guys
song.
Are on the same page.
I guess so, huh?
Simpatico, as the Hungarians say.
That's true. So check that out on our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast.
Yep.
We are putting that up for your listening pleasure. Tom Misch, It Runs Through Me.
Misch. I think it's Misch. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think it's Misch. He's English.
Featuring De La Soul. All right, Jared. Well, I got an important Czech word of the pod. Well, Czech phrase of the pod, I would say, for you.
Okay.
And this one has actually, I've impressed quite a few Czechs, I have to say, by saying this. So I'll kind of give you some context and see a little extra untranslatable. See if you can guess this one.
Okay.
So I'll be at a restaurant or a bar, and the waitress will come up, and I'll say, "Ještě jedno, prosím." Prosím means please. What do you think ještě jedno means?
I feel like it's saying I would like to make an order, or like I'm ready to order.
Not quite. I will tell you, jedno means one.
A table for one? I don't
Nope.
know. Man,
Another
I'm really
one, please.
blowing it here. Oh.
So when your pivo or your beer is empty, all you gotta say is "Jest to jedno," and you're good to go. Hezký kluk.
Good job. Very good job. How does it feel to start acquiring some of these phrases? Especially like that's all you need. Like you've essentially perfected Czech enough to go to a bar and have a drink. You can order a beer, I assume?
Yeah.
How would how would you do that?
The easiest way is dám
Just
si
say
pivo.
the beer or just say
or you could say pivo prosím. I mean,
Right.
I always try to be polite and add that prosím on there, the please. But
and you also have the ability to continue to drink, get more and more.
That's right.
And then you also have also done a Czech word that I believe in the past you've done the Czech please as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you can square it off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
True.
You got the whole bar process down.
That's true. And
restaurant, I guess, too.
And then I believe the Czech term, if you're at a table and everybody has drank their beers and you want like another round for everyone, you can say "Ještě jedno kodola," which means like I think for everyone or another round or something like that. But yeah, so "Ještě jedno" is a very important phrase if you are drinking beer in the Czech Republic, which any of our American listeners, if they ever go visit the Czech Republic, I would highly suggest it. The quality of beer here is great. And if you want to kind of fool some people into thinking that you're a natural, you can just say "Ještě jedno."
Or if you just want to try to come to people on their own level and not try to stick out. I don't think it's fooling people. You put such a negative connotation on it. You're not doing it to fool people. You're doing it so you can.
I'm doing it to fit in.
Fit in, yeah. But I mean, fooling is I guess maybe fooling might be the word, but I'd say that's fooling has a negative connotation.
That's
but
true.
I think fooling might be a fair word to use. But I feel like
or maybe
you're using it in a positive way.
Right. But yeah,
now I'm being a positive Jared. It's not just Chad that kind of bring the positivity.
I love it. I like it.
You know, I'm back home. I'm feeling good.
Right. But yeah, so that's a useful phrase for all of you out there. "Ještě jedno," another one. Okay, so
I know.
That's exactly. You're good.
Paráda.
You're ready. Okay, so I have one joke for you, Jared. I tried to find tailgating jokes. I tried to think of tailgating jokes. I couldn't really, but I did think of a football joke. So,
Okay.
How are bad football teams like opossums?
Is it opossum or possum?
Either or.
I think it's
Your
possum.
choice.
How are bad? Are we talking soccer?
No. How are bad
Okay.
American football teams like possums?
Because if it was soccer, I would say like football soccer. I would say like playing dead. Like there's a lot of playing dead and rolling
half
over.
Of it. That's half of it.
They're both good at rolling over and taking I don't know. Just tell me the joke. Now I'm just
my
ruining it.
punchline here. So how are bad football teams?
Oh, this
like
is a
possums?
chat original.
Mm-hmm. How are
I
bad
need to
football
know
teams
these
like
things.
possums?
Then it is opossums. I'm sorry, it's your joke.
Well, I would say it's like half original. I changed up the delivery. I didn't really change up the punchline.
Okay.
It's half original.
Backtracking.
So here we go. So how are football teams like possums? They play dead at home and they get killed on the road.
Oh, I like it. And that's why Michigan's feeling so good right now, because that's usually how they are. That's why Ryan is on his higgity high horse.
That's true. That is true. But yeah,
Do you know? Have you?
so
I mean, did you? You don't have Twitter though, so never mind. You haven't seen it. I'm done. We're moving on. Sorry. Go ahead.
I want you to send me some screenshots later, please, because I would love to read these.
Okay. Yeah.
If you got
for sure.
the time. If you got the time.
I'll do it right after
Anyways,
this. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we hope all of our listeners out there, we hope you have enjoyed our episode on the road again, Ann Arbor, also talking about tailgating. And thank you. We're not going to get in trouble for playing that, are we?
I think it's only like 5, 6, 7 seconds. I think it's a low, like a small, it's like a short enough chunk that it's okay.
Okay. I hope so.
And hey, let me also, I think it's okay because what you don't know is that's actually me singing, and I recorded that all in my room, and then just put it on. It's not actually from a YouTube video that I ripped it off.
You better teach me how to do a better Willie Nelson impression. Anyways, we hope you all have enjoyed our On the Road Again episode. please contact us. Oh, wait, I'm jumping the gun here. I got to give us all, I got to end us with our quote. Sorry.
Yeah.
So our quote of the
okay.
pod is from a very famous football, I believe he was a football player and then later well known as a commentator.
Who dat?
John Madden. And he said, if you look at tailgating, everybody does it. It's for everyone who likes to cook outdoors. It could be a 4th of July picnic. It really is, I think, an American cultural phenomenon where
Grilling,
everybody enjoys it. Grilling.
being out.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's very true. I never thought of how specifically American like it is, because a tailgate is almost no different of a set. I mean, rather than not being out of the back of your out of the back of your car. Excuse me. It's just like the same. Everything you'd need for a good 4th of July party or any sort of one of those Memorial Day sort of quintessential American holiday parties.
Exactly.
Where it's just like a different way and place to essentially barbecue and drink beer, which Americans love to do.
Oh, for sure. And for all of
and
our
I had a great time drinking beer this weekend too.
Oh, I'll bet.
Sorry.
It's hard to not have a great time at a tailgate.
Got so much to say.
Right. But yeah, so and for all of our foreign listeners out there, or I should say non-American listeners out there, if you ever get the chance to be in the United States during football season, especially college football season, and can attend a tailgate, I would highly suggest it. It's a lot of fun. Can get some delicious food, some really good beer, and play some fun drinking games and get to know people. So we hope you enjoyed our On the Road Again Ann Arbor edition. I want to thank you, Jared, for such a great episode, and I hope you continue to have a blast while you're in Ann Arbor.
Going places that I've never been.
And
that is my way of saying thank you, and I had a great time talking about Ann Arbor.
It's a great city, and we hope other people can check it out. And please let us know if you have any untranslatables. Contact us on Twitter, untranslatable1. Shoot us an email at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Instagram. We would love to have you follow our page. We have a lot of interesting audio clips and photos from all of our random travel excursions and just our daily lives. So please check that out. And we hope you all have a great day or night or whenever you happen to be listening to this. And we will talk to you next time.